My name is Wendy Hamrick. I'm a Master Gardener with the James City County Williamsburg Master Gardener Association. And today we're at the Williamsburg Botanical Garden. The garden is busy today with pruning because it's the time to prune this year, so they're doing some major pruning. But what we're here to talk about today is the third in a series of pruning videos that the Master Gardeners have produced. But I did want to tell you that the Botanical Garden is open 365 days a year. And it has lovely flowers and vegetation to look at all year round. So please come and join them. And we're at Freedom Park, and we're going over to meet one of our Master Gardener pruning instructors, Harry Fahl. He's going to take us through the proper cleaning and sharpening of your pruning tools. Just follow me. We're going to take a short walk. We're almost there. We are at the Interpretive Center at Freedom Park. Classroom is in here, so let's go in and see Harry.
Hello everybody, my name is Harry Fahl. I'm a Master Gardener with the James City County Williamsburg Master Gardener Association in Williamsburg, Virginia. We're out here at Freedom Park, just outside of the Botanical Garden. I'm also a board member at the Botanical Garden, and I take care of all of the pruning in our 2+ acres of garden that is woody shrubs or trees oriented. I do not prune flowers, even though I will show you some of the tools to do so. Today we're going to talk about sharpening. And the most often used tool to prune is a bypass pruner. And I have several different bypass pruners here. This one here, and I want to mention right now, if I mention brand names, I am in no way endorsing that brand. These are my own personal tools, and this is what I will use when I prune. So if I do mention the brand, understand that I'm not endorsing it one way or the other. But this is a bypass pruner, and a bypass pruner shows this blade right here will pass over, it's only one cutting blade, will pass over the rigid blade, and it goes over the top just like a scissors. And so that allows you to get a nice smooth cut on your branch that you're taking off. So keep that in mind. A bypass pruner is the most often used pruner that we have. So my tools here are in very good shape. So what I did do, so you can see how to sharpen and how to completely renovate a tool, I found this old piece here in a shed, tossed in a corner somewhere. God only knows how old it is or whatever. And you can't really see on the camera here, but this edge, the cutting edge, is really tore up. And I don't know if they were cutting nails, staples, or whatever with this thing, but it's torn up. And you can see also that it's in pretty rough shape. Where do we start with something like this? Let's start with cleaning it. But what I'm going to do to clean this, I'm going to first of all take out this spring right here. And once I take that spring out, and by the way, when I take a part off of this, I lay them in order, okay? And now I'm going to assume that this nut right here, which holds the two pieces together, is frozen in place. In the interest of truthfulness, I already broke that loose. It was frozen in place, so I could use this in this demonstration. So what we'll do with this, we're going to use a cleaner. You can use, this is something called Grease Lightning. You certainly don't need a bottle like this. I don't need a bottle like this. You can use a bathroom cleaner, any type of cleaner that won't degrade your metal. So we're going to take this, a little cloth, and let me see, we're just going to soak it down. While that's soaking, we're going to let that sit for a few minutes. We're going to move it aside. While that's soaking, so we can get and clean this, we're going to talk a little bit about different tools that you might want to use while sharpening. Tools vary depending on how often you need to sharpen, how often you're out there pruning. You don't need all the tools that I'm going to show you today. Understand that some of these tools are expensive. Some of them would just sit in your kit forever, you probably never use, but we're going to talk about them. So one of the most basic tools you can have, and we're going to use this tool on this particular piece right here because it is so far damaged, This is just a regular old flat file. This is a triangular shape, but it's just a file that you could buy at Ace Hardware, Lowe's, Home Depot, any store for a couple of dollars. This is going to be your first level of sharpening if your blade is badly damaged. You go to the second level of sharpening, or if the blade is not badly damaged, and you can use something like this. This is a very small diamond-coated file. Very small diamond-coated file. And you can see it's small in profile. It has a rounded back, flat bottom. This is a really good tool to use when you're just going to start dressing up the edge of your a cutting edge of your pruner. There again, you don't need to buy this, even though this is only like $8 or something like that. Second part of all of that sharpening is this. This is a tool that has all the metal right here is nothing more than to support this part right here, the bottom part. You can see that shiny part? That is actually carbide. So that carbide we can use to sharpen this edge, and I'm going to show you how to do that very shortly. Again, you look online, this is a tool I recommend for anybody, whether you are sharpening a pruning tool or sharpening your kitchen knives. It works well for both, or your hunting knife or whatever you have. And it costs somewhere around $8. And it's a great tool. Lastly, if you really are fussy about what your edge is, and I am, this is a diamond-coated sharpening tool. You can run your finger on here and you will feel almost no abrasives at all, just none. And it's that fine. This particular one is made by Felco, which is the top manufacturer of pruning tools. And this one here was $27. Please don't spend that money on this. You can go on Amazon, you can find something similar for about $8 to $10 in that ballpark. I happen to have the Felco because I prefer Felco tools throughout. But nonetheless, this is your fine edge. This will take you to a razor type edge. Do you need it for everyday pruning? No, not really. You know, this here will work for you. But if you really are persnickety, nice word, about this, this is really something that you can use. So those are the sharpening tools that we're going to be using. In the meantime, let's take a look at what we have over here. Now, we're back, remember we sprayed this and we really let it soak. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this nut off of here and we're going to dismantle this. This type of pruner is very simple. It's 3 parts. You've got your spring, 2 halves, and actually a bolt that goes through here. So we're going to take this off of here. And something I'm going to want to point out very carefully to you is never do this in the field. Never do this in the woods. Never do this unless you're at your bench or your table at home. Because you know what? You're going to lose a part. And it gets in the grass. The parts are so small. Guess what? You're not going to have it. So we took that nut off of here. And if you look at this nut, one side is rounded at the top. One side is flat. Inside that rounded part, there is a nylon lock washer. That always goes to the outside. So we're going to lay that down, face down, just like we took it off of here. Remember, the spring, now the nut, in line. We'll move that wrench back aside, and we're going to take these 2 pieces apart. There is this, I call it a bolt or a screw, and what's unique about this is the bottom part of this is squared. The top part, you know, just have to be aware of it. I know you may not be able to see this on the camera. The top part has its threads, which is what the nut was on. The bottom part is square, so it will lock into the square part of the pruning tool. If you didn't have that, the pruning tool would just spin. So we're going to take that, once again, put it down in line. All right, please always do this. And again, I'm going to reiterate, don't do this in the field. If you do this in the field, you drop a part that's lost and your pruner is done. So we have a couple of things. I have just some fine steel wool and an old brass brush. Now, how clean this is going to get, I have no idea, because this has been abused like you would not believe. And I think the abuse just came from sitting. So we're just going to scrub on this a bit. And we want to get down into here, because this is where we're going to lubricate. Right in here. We want to make sure there's no corrosion in here. Corrosion on this part of the handle and so forth, It's ugly, but does it mean anything? No. All that means something is the upper part of this tool. Sounds kind of cruel to say that, but that's a fact. So we'll just rub that down. And we'll do a little bit down here too. Just see if any of that will come off. You can, if you look, you can probably see it's turning brown. That material I have sprayed on here. Then we'll do a little bit more. And then we're going to take some steel wool and we'll go back to the second half in a second. Please be careful at this point. Your finger's going to be right against the cutting edge. These cutting edges will cut, if they can cut a branch, they can cut your finger. Please be cautious. We're going to take our steel wool and so if you're starting out and you have a pruner that's in good shape, the important point at this point, the important thing is don't let it get this far down in shape. Keep it in good condition all the time. After you're done pruning, especially if it got wet in the rain or something like that, make sure that you take it home, lubricate it, clean it and lubricate it. Other than that, you know, if you clean it once every month or two, and then certainly before you store it if you're not going to prune in the winter time. And this, I gotta say, is really some tough stuff on here. That's more corrosion right here than it is dirt. So we're not gonna be able to get all of that off of there, but that's okay. So we're gonna do this piece. I was wondering if that was dirt or corrosion, and it is corrosion. Now, there is a difference, and I'll talk about that right now while I'm doing this. A tool of this caliber, which probably costs $15 or so, 10, 15, 20. You can see how corroded it got. One of my two Falcos right here sat in a brush pile where I lost it for over 6 months. And look at the condition of it. So your value for money, here or here. 6 months sitting outside, over 6 months. So it's just things to consider if in fact you have the resources to buy a decent product. But if you take good care of it, a product like one of these will last you for a long time. Obviously there's times I didn't take good care of it or I wouldn't have left it in the brush pile for 6 months. So we're not going to bother cleaning up the rest of this down here because that's just all corrosion and not going to work. What I would need to do is put that on a wire wheel if I was really concerned about it. And now, let's talk about lubricants. Lubricants at the joint where these two pieces fit together, right here. We have several. One is WD-40. Everybody knows what WD-40 is. We've all used it throughout decades. WD-40 is a very fine lubricant, but it is primarily used to displace water. Like you can spray this on ignition wires in your car, and if they're got soaked and wet, then it'll dry it up. It's too fine of a lubricant to keep water out of a joint. It's not really designed for that. I don't use it to lubricate. I use this as a penetrating oil, and that's what helped me break this nut loose from that screw was WD-40, because it penetrated in there, broke contact between the two pieces. That's what that's for. You can buy this in real small cans. Primarily, most of the time you're not going to need that regarding pruning. Most of the time you don't need that. As far as a good pruning oil, joint oil, the 3-in-1 oil, which again has been around since the 1800s, good household oil, use it on hinges in your house or anywhere. It's an excellent product to use in the joint between the two halves, but it has to be used often. This is not one. Water can wash this off in time if you're working a lot in the rain, things like that. It's not one that you want to use if you're really using your pruner a lot. What you do want to use is a grease, and again, this is a Falco grease, but there are other brands. It's called hydrophobic. A hydrophobic grease, what does hydrophobic mean? Hydrophobic means water fearing. So water fears this grease. Sounds odd to say that, But when you put your grease on this joint, water's not going to penetrate in that joint as it fears this. Water will wash away from it, will not, where eventually with the 3-in-1, eventually the water will disperse it. With this, it will not. So you can get again, term hydrophobic. Keep that in mind. You can go to a hardware store. It doesn't have to be the Falco brand. Just go to a hardware store and ask them for a small tube of hydrophobic grease. So to reassemble this tool, we're not going to reassemble it yet, beg your pardon. If you recall what I said, this edge here is very, very rough. It's been chewed up. If this was made out of wood, it looked like a raccoon would have eaten on it. So we're going to take our file, and you see the direction I'm holding this. I'm holding it so the blade is toward me, and I'm going to take my file and I'm going to just keep on moving away. You can see I'm starting to get a shiny edge on it. And actually this could have even used a file that's more coarse than this to really get it, but we'll take it down to where it is functional. And let's see where we are. Okay, we got a good sharp edge on it right now. But you see the direction I'm holding this again, holding it away. Do not do this, is you're going to get twisted in here, and it's not going to work. Always use your pruner holding it in this direction and filing, away. So we have, if this were mine at home and I was going to use this every single day, I would probably work this blade down a little bit more, but I'm not going to today, just in the interest of time. Now I'm going to take this small file that I have right here, this little diamond bladed file, and I'm going to put just a little bit more of an edge, trying to maintain, mind you, almost every pruner, almost any bypass pruner, the angle of the cutting edge is 22 degrees. You're not going to be able to measure that with your hand. You're not going to put a mic on it to make sure. You have to eyeball it. So we'll take that, and as long as your tool, when you're going up, it maintains the same angle throughout almost all of your strokes. I know we're all human. It's just like bowling. You can't ever make a strike every time. Same thing here. So we're going to do that. Now, do you file the backside of this blade? No, the backside does not have a bevel on it. But what I just did by filing this direction, I created a small burr on here. So we're just going to take that file, we're going to lay it flat, and that's it. No, okay. I'm going to continue with this, actually, just to show you. This is the big tool that I had that has a carbide bottom on it. Once again, we're holding our pruning tool in the same position, and look, I want to take, if you can take a close look at this, I'm not going to put it at right angles. Hold it like this to it. You have to angle this. So you don't want to put it so the flat part of this is on there. You want to angle it. Hopefully you can see all that. So what I'm going to do is angle it like that and just drag it up. Ooh, that's sharp. Lastly, if I really want to take it down, and you have one of these, that's fine. And we're doing nothing more than the same movement. But you can hear it's not nearly as raspy because you're not taking off nearly the amount of material. And once again, when we're done, we lay our file, whichever one you're using, on the back and just scrape it off. We have an edge on here. Can I have that piece of paper for a second, please? I should have had it over here. Pardon me for one moment. No, you couldn't have cut anything with this blade when we first started. Let's just do this. Try to do that with a dull tool. You couldn't. So that's how sharp this edge is on this tool right now. So let's go ahead and put them back together. We're going to take the two pieces, remember? And we got the screw, which has the square part and the threaded part. and we push it all the way up through. Sometimes you got to turn that screw so everything fits. So right now, the bolt head is flush with this, and there is no gap between the two pieces. So we know that that screw is in there correctly. And we'll take our nut, and remember that nut has a nylon washer on the top. It's called a lumping. And we'll turn it on. I happen to have right size wrench here. Oh, we'll tighten that down a little bit. Now, the next question that comes up, how tight do you make this? How tight? So, I didn't hear an answer from anybody on the end of that video here, so, all right. So you don't want a tool that you have to push hard and pull hard, okay? And I've seen people do that, their tool is so tight. What you want to do is have a tool, I haven't put the spring back in yet, remember that. When you have a tool and I push the blades together, all I have to do is touch that and it falls, okay? Now you're not killing yourself trying to push this together and pull it apart. So this is your adjustment. Put it up. If it falls down with just a slight touch, you have a good adjustment on it. We'll put the spring back on, and now you have a serviceable tool. This particular tool is missing the connecting spring, latch that goes through here to keep it together. Like this one has that latch, see that? It's just missing it again. I found it in the shed. So it's never going to close up and stay closed. But right now, this is a serviceable tool. You could use that. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to lubricate this. Well, you know what? We're going to take another pruner apart here in a moment. Okay, my apologies. So, that's your basic bypass pruning tool, with the exception of putting in your lubricant. And I apologize. Now, what we're going to do, we know what we have to do to recondition an old blade and an old unit piece like this. Here, this tool here was just about as bad as that. I managed to bring this one up into pretty good shape. And I found this in another old shed. And once again, another one that you could cut that paper or cut anything with this. And she's a well reconditioned tool. So once again, I point these out. These are $20 tools, roughly 20, 25, 17. These tools will service you very well for moderate everyday pruning. If you're pruning a lot, then it's time to step up your game a little bit. And to step up the game, I mean, I stepped it up when I mentioned the word Falco several times. And that's a tool it's not going to corrode on you. The blades are interchangeable. So if you really damaged blade on this, you're going to throw it out. And so we're going to take a Falco apart. This is a Falco number 2. It's the most often used bypass pruner there is in the industry. And it has a lock right here to lock it. We're going to take this whole thing apart, a different type of spring, and show you. And this time I will remember to lubricate it. So let me see, one of these two. Yeah, we'll do this one. And the reason, by the way, I have 2 Falco number 2s is, remember I told you I lost one in a brush pile for over 6 months? Well, I bought one during that 6 months, and then I came across the old one. And again, that was the condition of it. So let's take it apart. Now, in the Falco toolbox, there is this special little tool. Once again, you do not need this tool. You can take an 8mm socket or a screwdriver and take this screw out right here. That's the only, we're not going to worry about this one. That's a 7mm. I happen to carry this because, again, I use it often. At the bottom end of this particular tool, this is an 8mm wrench. Opposite side is a 7mm wrench. Also on this tool, you have your carbide strip, and then you have your sharpening edges right here that is at the 22 degrees that I mentioned. So if you're really doing a lot of work and you have a Falco, this is a great tool. If you're not, don't spend the $48 that this tool costs. It's not necessary. So what we're going to do is take this screw out here, and now I want you to take note. See how these teeth are cogged right here? Like two little gears, and they're meshing. You got to keep that in mind, right there. So we're going to take that screw out. Once again, please don't do this in the field. If you can imagine that screw and that little piece getting lost in the weeds, you'll never find it. The next thing is, this is that same, we had that nut and bolt on this one. This is the same thing, just a bit more complex, you might say. And this should never be real tight. You saw I spun that off my fingers. Now, I'm going to point something out here. If you look, this little notch right here, okay, that is the locking mechanism when that screw's in here. That's the locking mechanism to keep that from turning. So we're going to just keep that in mind. Once again, when you take these parts off, lay them flat down in order. And we're going to take this one off. Flat down, same side down. Don't flip it over and lay it down, because if you do, you're never going to get these parts to match. Keep, just like I took it off, lay it down, flat side down. Now, pull off the spring and take apart the two pieces. Now notice how I took it apart and laid it right flat down in the same direction. This has removable blades. So we're going to do a little bit of sharpening on this after I put it back together. But the blade itself, like I said, it has 3 holes. 1, 2, 3. And the blade is designed for, it says on here, Falco number 2. And you have 3 pins on here. 1, 2, 3. Now, we can put a little bit of grease underneath here. It's not necessary because nothing's going to turn on it. But if we want to just keep it from any water seeping in, we'll just do that. And it's not necessary because nothing is rubbing at that point. And we'll put the blade back on, matching those 3 holes with the 3 pins. There we go. Now, this is where you need your lubrication because this part moves against that. So we'll take our lubricant, put it on. You don't need much. You really don't need much. There we are. And slip it back together. There we are so far. Now, same side down, same side down. Don't attempt to flip it. This, I don't really know what you'd call that with the cogs on it, the teeth. Now, this screw and that other thing have to go right here. So that will allow this locking mechanism to get behind that tooth. So we're going to open this up or close that up a little bit. And we're going to take the screw, put it through that, and now here's where you have to be careful because you want these 2 sets of teeth to match up. Now, if you can see here, see how the teeth are matched? That's what you want to see. And the screw is started. Please, if the screw does not turn in easy, that means you're cross-threading it. Start over, or you will end up with a problem. And I'm going to take my 8mm wrench and just snug that down. Oops, I forgot one thing. Let's take that back off for a moment. Adjust it. Remember what I said? That's too loose. So we're going to tighten this. Perfect. Now we'll go back to this again. All right, match up those teeth. Start the screw. And 8mm size. Now, the locking mechanism fits in this little notch. See that? So now we'll take this and put our spring back in, and you are complete. So, and now let's just run the sharpener over this a little bit more. We've got a really good edge on here. And just as a reminder, let's just start with this one. Now you see how I'm holding this? Again, do not hold it like this and try and get in here. You're not going to be able to do it well. You're not going to get a good edge. So hold it like this, at an angle with this little carbide tool, and just scrape it up. Scrape it up, starting all the way at the bottom. And then we're just going to knock off the back. It has a good edge. Very, very sharp. Now, only, again, what I said earlier, only one side of the bypass pruning edge, cutting edge is sharpened. The other side does not have a bevel to it, and it stays flat. The difference being, we go to an anvil pruner. An anvil pruner, you're hardly ever going to need one of these. An anvil pruner, instead of cutting nice and clean like this does, because it acts like a scissors, one blade passes in front of the fixed portion. An anvil pruner has one blade that comes up against a flat surface. It crushes what you're going to cut. It crushes against here. And I'll show you that in just a moment. So, because it doesn't bypass, you sharpen both edges on this. You would sharpen one side, and you would sharpen the other. So this is just like a knife edge. Both edges get sharpened. And then, because anvil pruners are used to cut dead wood, really, really hard wood, and you can take that and just snip it. The very, very powerful tool if you get into really hard wood. Much more effective for hard wood cutting. We're going to talk about this a little bit more, about a couple other things. We're pretty much done sharpening at this point. So let me just close up here on this. People ask me, oh no, let's talk about this. This is another Falco tool. And you see the fine point. This is so different from that. This is an entirely different tool. This you use for your branches, you know, and from very small up to 1/2, 3/4 of it, not even 3/4, 5/8 of an inch. This particular tool is used primarily for floral, very fine twigs, and you can get into your specimen to really get in there and cut. Now, a kind of a unique feature to this, if you can see this and you can hear it, 1/2 of this blade is serrated. The reason for that is when you go in to cut a delicate floral stem, it's not going to crush the stem, it's not going to slip. The other half of the blade is sharpened on one side only. The other side is flat, one side only. This is very sharp already. But I just wanted to point this out because there are different methods, different tools rather, for different things. And this is very highly specialized. One that's even more specialized is this one. This is not a Falco brand. This one here is what you'd use for like bonsai work. Very, very small. You have 2 cutting edges on this, and we're not going to mess with that. But I wanted to point out a couple of things. And one question I get so often is, Harry, I have a pruning saw, and in the saw I was cutting some limbs and I hit a nail. Myself, I've hit more nails than you can imagine. I've hit a horseshoe, and I've hit a piece of chainsaw chain that was embedded about 2 inches into the limb. How do you sharpen that? I'll show you how to sharpen it. You don't. You throw it out. For 20 bucks you can buy a new one, or you can have it sharpened for 30 or 40. I don't know exactly what saw sharpeners are charging this day, but believe me, you're just as well off running down to the hardware store and getting one for $20 or so. The last thing I just wanted to show you, and this is in showing you a large size of this anvil pruner. This is an anvil lopper. We all know what a lopper is, huge, powerful. I've had this probably in 25 to 30 years of my pruning. I'm still using it. Someone asked me a short time ago what the brand name on it was. I don't know, it's so far gone. But it is in perfect shape. The edges are sharp and everything else. But now you can really see the type of, this is the anvil, this is your cutting blade. And I brought this just to show you that they don't stop at just that small tool. Nor do your bypass loppers. I have bypass loppers that have 4-foot handles on. So at this point, I don't know what else I can show you regarding. The important part is use a good cleaning agent, use a good lubricant, polymorphic lubricant, and you can go on, and I'm not promoting Amazon, but almost all of this stuff I bought on Amazon, $8 maybe, that expensive one you can get cheaper, maybe $6 or $8, whatever it is. And you do that, and you can keep your tools sharp. Remember, you don't have to take them apart to sharpen. You do that, and you take this, and in the field, don't take them apart in the field. I will stress that 100 times. And you have a sharpened tool. Just takes that much effort, but you have to have the proper sharpening tools to do so. That's all I have for you today. I want to say thank you for everybody listening. I know this has been a little bit lengthy, but I tried to get as much information out to you as I possibly could. Once again, I thank you for the opportunity to present this to you. I hope it benefits you in your pruning efforts. Good day.
Thank you for watching this presentation by the James City County Williamsburg Master Gardener Association. Please visit our website for more educational videos at jccwmg.org.